So in the last session we were looking at Azure Virtual Machine. I think we just started. So just to bring up to speed, I think we just discussed on what is virtual machine. I think we discussed about the laptop analogy, where like typical like a laptop will have a operating system, memory, CPU, storage. Similarly, a virtual machine, you will have all these things, just like getting a laptop on cloud. That is a simple analogy to understand. And so you get various flavors also, and different sizes, different configuration. You can choose whatever you want, what is the configuration. So yeah, just to understand this, virtual machine is nothing but uh, in simpler terms, it's just computer inside another computer. It's a smaller computer inside a bigger computer. So it's a simple layman term of definition. So you'll have a, like, in Azure data center, there'll be big physical hardware that will be procured, and there'll be host operating system that will be running. If it is Windows based operating system, then hypervisor will be a virtualization software that will be running on top of that, and then on top of that you'll they'll create a guest operating system, and that is what we are calling as virtual machine. So the bigger hardware, you get smaller machines. And these machines can be of bigger size or smaller size or whatever. So that you get all these advantages are there in this virtual machine. We also saw it's nothing but virtual machines are in Azure world, they call us virtual machine, Azure Virtual Machine. In AWS world, we saw it as EC2, right? So here it is called Azure Virtual Machine. So we get various operating systems, various flavors, various sizes. Primarily Windows and Linux are primary flavors that you get, and generally the use cases are primarily the development and test machines, application hosting, and also you can consider these virtual machines as your extended data center. Uh, and all these virtual machines that you can create in various ways. One is Azure Portal, that is what we're going to see, and also we have PowerShell and Azure CLI also. So we can go through these various options and create the VMs um, in the Azure data centers. The feature wise, it is pay as you go billing and per second billing. So basically, based on the usage, you'll be charged accordingly, and you can scale this VMs from 1 to 1,000 within fraction of minutes, like whatever number you want. So, and the tooling that you can use is VM scale sets. So using VM scale sets, so you can scale up or scale down the VMs, and also you will generally encrypt the sensitive data. Uh, uh, Using VM, there are you can, if you think the VM is will hold sensitive data, you can also have options to encrypt the sensitive data, and also you can protect the VMs from threats, security aspect, where you want to secure your network traffic from all malicious activities. You can do that, and also you can have what are the compliance requirements or legal requirements are there, so that also um, you can enforce that. So Azure is giving a lot of tools, or maintenance of the VMs. A lot of tools are also provided by Azure, and we can also even deploy our own custom VM image, or even download the existing images from Azure Marketplace. So for example, if you created a VM and install all the required softwares, but let's say you want 1,000 machines or 1,000 VMs of a similar configuration. So then you can take an image from the existing version that you created, create an image and use that image for the replicas. So apart from that, all the vendors, a lot of vendors also, they provide custom images where you can download them from Azure Marketplace also. So like for example, you can itself create an image and put it into Marketplace, and you can either make it available for free or for a cost. So, so you can host it in the Marketplace. Right. Yeah, I think this is what the architecture that we were seeing in the last session. So when we create a VM, it is not just VM. So we are creating many things, at least 7 items behind the scenes. So That is because VM is something which collects many things together. It's not just when you create a VM, it's not just VM that you're creating. You are you're creating the storage. Like for example, take a laptop. Laptop will have a storage, C drive, D drive. So that is also yeah, it's an external component from Azure point of view. So storage. So you're creating a storage. The storage comes in various flavors. Like in Azure provides a lot of storage options, but here, especially we're talking about VHDs, virtual hard disks. So when we talk about virtual hard disk, Azure has primarily three options here. One is OS disk. The another one is temporary disk. So OS disk is like a C drive. In Windows, if you take it is it's a Windows machine. It is like C drive where your Windows installation will be there. Then temporary disk is like a D drive. So the difference between OS disk and temporary disk is that OS disk will be there permanently. Even if you restart, the C drive will be there. But this temporary disk is something which is not permanent. So it is, from the name itself, it is temporary. Like any data that you put in D drive, so once you restart your machine, that the data is gone. So as long as you're not restarting, the it is there. But if you're restarting your VM, it will be cleaned up. So yeah, so be careful when you put some files to the D drive. So because that will be gone when you do a restart of the VM. So that's temporary disk. And then but if you want to have uh, permanent storage, then you have data disks. So data disk is like external drive connecting to your laptop. The data will be there permanently. So that is what is external disk. It's called as data disk here. Um, and yeah, so and then apart from this, you'll also have diagnostic storage, which I will show you what it is. It is nothing but a blob storage. It's an optional component. Let's say you want to store your diagnostics of your VM, what is the health of your VM and other things. You can use diagnostic storage. And coming, so that's on the storage side. What we saw is storage. Then apart from that, you'll also have networking requirements. So in a VM, you need a networking aspect. So basically, you need an IP for this machine, and using this IP, you can access it from your local laptop or within other from other network. You can access it. So for all these things, you need an IP for this laptop. So that IP is something that is provided using network interface, which will be associated to public IP. So network interface is the one which helps you to assign a public IP for your laptop. So with basically you will associate a public IP. You create a public IP and associate to your network interface. That's how you get a IP public IP for your virtual machine. In addition to that, this network interface is outside on a important component called VNet. Uh, let's say you want your VM to be in a network boundary where you want to keep it restricted. So VNet is the one which helps you to get the boundary back to you. And inside a VNet, there will be multiple subnets. So subnet one and this is subnet two. So the subnet one can have VM1 and subnet two can have VM2, and these two can talk to each other because they are within the same boundary of network. But it is, if you think globally, there could be multiple VNets also could be there. So that requires some additional work for two VNets to talk to each other. But at least within a VNet, subnet is something like your boundary, a networking boundary, where you're splitting your broader IP range into smaller rooms. It's like taking a bigger hall and splitting that hall into smaller rooms, and each room will have, for example, a bed which is equal to virtual machine. Yeah. So likewise, so that is how it is, and the traffic that is flowing inside a VM, um, so that has to be secured. So we should control the traffic. It should be possible to control traffic in terms of what ports should be allowed or what port should be denied. So So that there comes the security aspect. So that is what is provided by the network security group within the subnet. So generally, you associate the rules at a subnet level, which will be internal applied to the virtual machine elsewhere, right? And then you will yeah, one also you can associate a public IP, as I said, and also it is difficult to remember the IPs. So if let's say you want to give a domain name for it, uh, xyz.com. So so likewise, if you want to give a domain name, then you can associate a DNS to this public IP. So that way, instead of remembering this public IP, you can say xyz.com. So which will be internally connected to this virtual machine. So yeah, so this is what we're going to see today in the demo. Any questions here before I move to the demo side? Okay.
Shyam, Mani here.
Yes, Mani.
Suppose if you don't use the diagnostic storage, what
Uh-huh.
is the default storage would be?
It will be blob storage.
Blob storage, okay.
Blob,
I see.
blob storage, yeah.
Thanks.
So blob storage is the cheaper storage options out of all the storages that we have. I mean, these are just two storages, but there are other storage mediums are also there in Azure, which we'll go through when we're looking at the storage area, the storage section. But at least at this point, immediately, I mean, storage out of all the storage options available, blob storage is the one which is cheaper.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the demo side. Oh, 1 minute. Hope I'm recording. Yeah. So so here you can go to portal.azure.com. So this is where you get a portal where I'm logging into my personal account. I mean, this is the Azure is free for 1 year, so you can access it. You can register it before going to this. So I mean, you can register for you just go to basically 12 months of free services that you get from Azure. So you can register here and yeah, it will ask for credit card. That is always there, but I think they'll charge very minimal amount and return you back once you get that. But probably you get 12 months of free services at with $130 euros it is. Yeah, it is rated, and always 25 plus services are free within your account when there's a free account. Right. So yeah, I already registered, so you can sign up with and then you can get this activated. Generally, this activation is almost instant, but sometimes it takes 1 day. But mostly it will be instant. So yeah, so this is a portal. Once you log into portal, this is how it look like. Just quickly see, this is the navigation options here. Here they call us portal here in Azure. So here it is. I can see all the options here, and here from here you can change accounts if you want. So let's say you have multiple accounts, you can change that. Um, and also here, you, this is where your subscription, which I was telling you. So I mean, Azure comes with a subscription. So you need to get a you need to get a subscription. Without subscription, you'll not be able to access any of your things. So when you create a free account, you will if you go to subscriptions, you will see a subscription called free trial that is created. So let's say if you're enterprise and you have multiple departments and each department most probably will have a subscription for their department, but they all will be tied to one parent company account. So like this account and subscription are parent-child relationships. So there will be Azure account. Inside Azure account, you will have subscriptions. There will be many subscriptions, more than one, for example. So yeah, here in my case it is just one, but if you go to a bigger enterprise, you can see a lot of subscriptions, which can be seen only by the admin, not by everyone, for example. So this access can be given at subscription level, or I think this access levels and all we'll see in the next session. but it is possible to restrict who can see what in this UI. As now I am an admin, I can see everything. But in your real time, in your real project work, based on in which capacity you are, so you may not see some options, or some of them are disabled for you likewise. But in your personal account, you are the admin, so you'll have complete access in your personal account. Um, so this is where you can see your or change your subscription. Here I have only one, so I don't have any option. But if you want, if you have multiple, sometimes it's possible that one person can move across subscriptions. If you want to toggle between subscriptions, if you come here, you can see multiple subscriptions here. Uh, so yeah, and this is where the notification window, where you can see what is the credit remaining, and wow, and if you created anything, what is the status of all those things, you can see here. All the notifications you can see here. Of course, the settings is general. You can change the theme, color, background. I'm using a white background, but if you want to change a black background or dark background, you can change that. So all the general settings there here, right? Right. And then this one is Cloud Shell. So this you can, as I said, like we have multiple options. One is portal, and the other one is a command line, a CLI way of doing it. I will come to this CLI shortly. But you can think that this is a command line using all the operations that you're seeing here. You can creating a VM. In fact, also can be done through a CLI. So I will show you when I create the VM using a CLI. So, okay, and apart from that, yeah, you have options to even navigate from here. Sorry, for example, you can search from here, virtual machines. You can go there. This is one way, or you can navigate like this as well. So we have multiple options here. So, okay, that's a high-level overview of the options that you have in this UI. So let's go to the VM creation aspect. So um, let's now create a Windows VM. Maybe let's use Windows, probably a data center, Windows server. Let's create a Windows server. So just add virtual machines. Okay, so this is very important. The resource group is something which will help you to tag everything. It's logical grouping. So it is nothing. It doesn't have anything. So you can, it is just a logical grouping. So that way, if you create a resource group, so everything will be under that resource group. So that way, it is easier for you. Let's say you want to dismantle this VM. If you just delete a resource group, um, all the VM related stuff, or all the other resources that you created under that resource group, everything will be deleted. So basically, this will help you to even search and also delete. So a lot of advantages. It's logical grouping. Nothing else. So I'm just giving some name. Vector is really meaningful to me. I'm just generally it's a good practice to use RG. That's not a I mean, not a mandatory thing, but yeah, just for you to understand whether it's a resource group or not. So RG and just let's say Windows. Yes, it is already there.
Hey, Shyam.
Yep.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
on comparison to AWS?
Yes.
Um, I don't think I can recall there is a resource grouping in AWS unless it is being identified as part of the tags. Am I right?
Yes. There is no equivalent feature. Tags are there, but that is also there here. This tags is equivalent to AWS tags, but there is no equivalent to resource group in AWS. You're right.
Yeah, but this is,
So,
I think, this is a very useful feature. Probably is if you are going to create a temporary, UAT resource or a grouping, or you want to create a small project after which the entire resource after that particular project has got to be gone. And this is probably a brilliant way to group them together. But I don't see this is an equivalent way easily in AWS. Okay, that's fine then.
that's because AWS started 5 years before, right? So these guys saw what is good, how to improve. So two things they took the real initiative. One is the subscription, another is this resource group. And these two, like you said, is really meant for managing the resources, deleting or grouping easily, right? these guys also have tagging, so you could also use whatever AWS has. These guys have, but these two on top of it. In AWS, we have something called cloud formation. Here they have something called ARM. That's basically automated way of building resources. If you create the resources through the cloud formation, then if you delete the cloud formation, all the resources created will delete away. That is the only way to group if you want to roll back at one shot. But here these guys are given for even if you do it on the console way, you can go and delete the resource group. You could delete it. It's very, very good feature though. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So here I'm just giving a name. Demo Windows. What is there? Okay, that's accepted. So I'm just creating a group called Charm. So this can be any name. So I'm just giving a name. So basically we are trying to create a VM here, just like in AWS. Here also we have a lot of regions. And one important thing which I want to highlight is that region-wise, Azure is having more regions compared to all other cloud vendors. Even AWS is also, I think, as far as I know, this Azure is 60 plus regions now. So whereas AWS is 45 plus so far. So, so yeah, these guys are spending a lot and they're getting a lot of data centers across the world, and which is yeah, they're doing it very fast. Even in China also they have a specific data center available. So yeah, so yeah, just so likewise we have, you can based on where your region is, so you can, it is very important to select a region, so that your latency requirements you should keep in mind when you create a VM or select a region. So it depends on, let's, if users are in India, for example, better to select an option region in India. If it is US, accordingly, based on the region within US, you can select accordingly. But yeah, good ways again here. Also, I see that US East has two options here. So I generally prefer US East 2 because that is it is more modern compared to US East 1 or the older one. So you could use that. So and this one availability options. This is a very important parameter. I think this is one of the questions which I think Jnanish has asked last time. So this is one of the placement strategies where your VM should be located, considering your latency requirements in mind. So you need to select your placement strategy for your VM. The difference is that availability set means it is it is basically this VM that you're going to create is within a rack within a data center. So so you are, let's say you're creating multiple. This doesn't make sense for creating one VM, but when we're creating at least two to three VMs, this placement strategy makes a difference. Let's say if let's say we're creating two VMs, and these two VMs have to talk to each other. So this VM1, let's say I'm using availability set. So and the second VM when I create, if I use availability set, which means both these VMs will be within a data center, but it will be in a different rack. So that way, if one rack is down, still you have other VM still available for your uh, uh, replication or whatever the failover aspects, to cover the failover aspects. So so this one, this is within the data center, but let's say you want you want to even be more risk free. Rather, if there is any fault to the data center itself, then both these VMs are gone. Where if you select a availability set, but let's say you want to select VM1 in one data center, VM2 in a, I mean VM1 in one availability zone and VM2 in a different availability zone, in a different location, which is miles away from first location. then you should select availability zone. So that way your risk is lesser. Okay. So yeah, the difference is how much you want to, how much risk you want to take for your for the high availability. So yeah, again, this comes with a cost. You should keep this in mind. As long as if the two VMs are within the same availability set, your cost is less. But if it is across availability zones, then yeah, you have to pay a bit more. Yeah. Okay. So for our requirements, I mean, if you can also have an option to even select no infrastructure redundancy required. That is what is my at this point I'm just going to create a one VM, so it doesn't matter for me. So I'm just selecting that. But if you're creating more than one VM, then you should keep this in mind where your VM should be placed. So that's about this. And here, this is where you get a lot of VM options, starting from Windows to Linux, various flavors. So you can also select this thing from various marketplace also. So you can select OpenVPN, Ubuntu, Hortonworks. So you have a lot of options to select from based on the area. So uh, yeah, so that is option. So this is also available. But if you have shared images, so you can. I mean, if, let's say if you have your own custom shared image, you can select from that as well. So so the standard ones are there here. So you can pick from here. So the most commonly used are already listed here. Yeah, most probably, yeah. Let's go with Windows Server 2019. So that's a data center that. So Windows Server package is what we're looking. I'm trying to create. Then Azure Spot. This is again similar to AWS Spot instances, where if you remember that the Spot is like a bidding, right? So if someone is bidding for this instances, this VM will be gone. So um, yeah, so generally this will be no for if you want a dedicated VM. But I'm planning to go with on-demand VM, so it's always there for me. But if you want for a better price, you're looking for a cheaper VM option, but it is okay if that VM goes away, your workload is not impacted, then you can select this. So that way you get around 85 to 90% discount that you get compared to the on-demand VM. So yeah, for my purpose, I don't need this. I'm just selecting this. And this is where the size or the configuration comes into picture. So I was selected Windows, what should be my size, the configuration. So here we have a lot of options to select. So, and good thing is that there is also there's a recommendation that is provided by Azure. Of course, based on your usage pattern, it will again the machine learning is introduced here. So based on it will give a recommendations to you which one to select. But if you're looking for various options, so these are the various options that you have to select. If you look at this primarily, this family is one differentiator. I mean, just to tell, are we looking for general purpose VM or for example, compute intense or memory intense? So various combinations you can select from these options. So I'm just keeping it simple. So let me go with the default that is provided, which is basically two vCPUs and 8 GB RAM is what is my configuration I'm going with, which is the default one. And this costs, for example, 9,000 rupees per month, for example. So that is my cost of this usage. Um, okay, so and then this is my uh, account. I'm just putting some Azure user. Is, uh, so here that, and here is what ports you want to select. So here I've also by default RDP port, because being a Windows side, this is selected by default. But let's say you want you want to host something on the site and want to access it. Let's say I want to also want to install IIS web server on this Windows box. So if I'm selecting even port 80, okay, maybe I will not select. I will show you how to enable it later. So that way you also know where to enable specific ports. So I will not, for reason I'm not selecting port 80. I'm just selecting only RDP. Right? And here the licensing aspect. This is what Azure hybrid benefit is. What makes Microsoft win on the cost aspect compared to AWS, provided if you are already a Microsoft shop. So, for example, if you're already a Microsoft shop, so you definitely will have existing licenses on Windows that you would have already procured. So, the advantage with Azure is that which is a which is a unique factor in Azure where it is not there with other cloud vendors is that you can bring your existing licenses that you already have to cloud. So this way you get around say 14% of discount with the license you already own. So it gives
Sam,
14% discount there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we are assuming that on Azure we are creating only Windows VM, right? Like, but it is supporting other OSs too, like Linux and others.
Yeah.
So no, I'm just saying, like, okay, maybe because it's Microsoft, yeah, you can import. But what about AWS? If you are already a subscriber to all this Windows Server license, right? Is there a difference between
Yeah.
AWS and
Yes. I mean, the Microsoft gives a lot of discount if you're already having a Windows licenses.
Mhm.
So see the two advantages where Microsoft or Azure is giving advantages that if you have on VM side, if you have any Windows licenses, you can bring that. And also another thing is SQL Server, the database side. So here is also where if you already have your existing licenses, you can bring that. Similarly, Power BI. So so this also so these are all popular Windows products, and where you can if you already have any licenses that you already have, you can bring that. So in that case, you need to register about what is your license details, so that way you can avail this discount. Uh, but yeah, if you're asking in AWS, as far as I know, it is not there. So that is, in fact, they in Microsoft pages they officially put this difference. Uh, uh,
Yeah,
comparison?
AWS
yes.
cannot give, right? Because this is their product, so they could give the discount.
Yeah.
That is what.
No, so by default, okay. So that your decision on to which cloud to go to
Yeah.
basis is based on your current infrastructure or licensing thing, right? Like, so
Yeah,
it's
to an extent, right? Yeah,
yeah,
that is one of the reason after 5 years when these guys came, they could able to come so fast because of their penetration with their licensing. Whatever they have a huge penetration in the all the customers already, right? AWS
yeah.
is newbies.
Mm,
So to be honest, right, AWS shines because of the innovation. These guys, once they saw the innovation, they know how to duplicate very well.
yeah.
And also they could give the licensing privileges.
Yeah, this is deja vu, right? Unix, IBM DOS versus MS DOS, right?
Yeah, man. But they do it very well, though. That's what we have to
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. Once you know how to go, right, you can always innovate.
Yeah. See, now that is why there is only 1 year of edge for AWS.
Mhm.
After 1 year, whatever AWS does, Azure can do it in all the aspects.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they have to innovation has to keep on happening. So the leading edge of technology has to happen. Innovation has to happen to keep the market sharp.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about Azure hybrid benefit. Bring your Windows Server, SQL Server, on-premise licenses with Azure, right? So it's clearly officially it says, I mean, in the website, AWS is 5 times more expensive than Azure for Windows Server and SQL Server. It is an official statement which is there in their website. So yeah, so that is what it is. So if so, this is where if you're a Windows shop, then definitely Azure will give you a lot of discount compared to the AWS. But the AWS has other advantages, right? So I mean, it is having the all the innovation. That is one thing, and also if you look at all the databases, they have whatever database that you talk, all the modern database, everything it supports. But yeah, this is Azure is picking up in that space, for example. So yeah, so likewise there are plus and minus, but maybe as Srini said, 1 year from now, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we can see everything, whatever is there in Azure and AWS, it is more or less same.
Yeah, it all depends on the sales guy, how much discount he gives on from, I mean, from the AWS side.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if he can match match Microsoft, yeah, then they get the contract. It's now no more technological advantage over the other thing, right? It's just
yeah,
a
that's true.
pricing matter, actually. That's it.
Yep. Okay, so that's about this tab, basics tab. Let's move to the next tab, disks. This is where your hard disk comes into picture. The OS type disk, what type of disk you want. The premium SSD. These are three options that Azure provides to you. HDD, which is yeah, it is okay. It is okay for data warehousing kind of a requirement. But if you're looking for a good IO aspects, then SSD is a better option to you. So in this itself, we have premium versus standard. So based on this, your costs will vary. Yeah. So but Azure generally recommends you to go for premium SSD because that way you get a better availability. So there is a, aspect of availability which I covered in one of the slides where um, so this is the availability SLA that Azure offers. If you are looking, why I'm telling that here because premium storage makes a difference in the numbers of your availability. So if Azure is recommending to go for premium storage, so with premium storage you will get 99.9% of availability. If something goes down, Azure will pay for you, I mean, or it will give a discount when your next billing. So so yeah, that's why this is the premium storage and managed disks. These are the two things Azure recommends. Of course, this will increase your SLA availability. So yeah, and I'll come to that later. But I'm just telling this plays an important role with respect to availability. But again, it comes with a cost also. Maybe for all your use cases, premium SSD may not be required. But let's say we're installing some database on this VM, then yeah, premium SSD makes a difference. But if you don't use any IO intensive operations or IO intensive software, then HT should be good for you, right? So I'm selecting premium SSD. The encryption is let's say if you have any encryption keys, then you can go with. But for now, I'm going with the default encryption. So this is what is OS disk. If you go back to this PPT, so this OS disk is the C drive. Okay, temporary disk you don't have option to select, but yeah, by default you get a temporary disk. But this data disks, for example, E drive or F drive or whatever, right? The external mounted hard disk. It is not it is not inside your VM. It is an outside mount. It's like external hard disk, right? So you can mount connect to a laptop. You get an external hard disk space. So similar to that. So that is what is this data disks are. So data disk is where you can attach external hard disk kind of a thing. This is where you have options to select what type of what size you want and other things. So we have the cost will vary based on your size. The 4 GB hard disk or 1024 hard disk or whatever. So I'm selecting that. Look, I'm not selecting that, but I'm just showing you how this will look like. So yeah, here you can. This is like you're associating 1024 GB space. In addition to the C drive, you get this D drive, also E drive, for example. Uh, so D drive is your temporary storage, right? So this is something like CDE, for example. E drive will attach it as a E drive. I'm not selecting it because we're not going to use it. But yeah, apart from that you also have managed disk. So this is another SLA aspect that this for yeah in the disk there are two things, right? One is um, managed disk and unmanaged disk. So managed disk is means for this the maintenance is all with of this disk is all with Azure. So you're not going to manage this disk. The Azure it's like a managed version of the disk. So always it is good to go with the managed disk, so that way Azure will take care of the maintenance aspect, right? And then let's go to the networking field tab. So by default, it is this VNet comes with the default setting. But if you have, but generally we saw from the AWS learnings that generally it is good practice to design the networking first, and then create a networking aspects like create a net VNet subnets, and then create a VM. So that is a generally good practice. Design your networking architecture first, and then come to your compute. So, but yeah, here for quick and dirty solutions, yeah, this POC kind of a thing, you can always go with the defaults that Azure provides to you. But yeah, to summarize, this is VPC. So you can create your own name, or if by default it takes your resource group name. But if you want, you can create a new one. And then subnet. So by default /24. This is the CIDR notation that is comes as the default. But if you want, you can change that. We'll go through this networking when we look at that. So we'll go through all these things in detail. And then the public IP, by default it creates a public IP for you. So right, so and you can select what ports to be enabled and what ports to be disabled. I'm all going with defaults now, and they also have option to accelerate networking. This is it comes with their additional cost, but I think we all saw in the AWS world it's similar to that. So and load balancing, I'm selecting no, but if you want this VM to be in a load balancer, you can select yes and provide the load balancer details. We'll go through this later. So I'm selecting no. Uh, and then this is where this management, this external hard disk that we're talking about, the storage, external storage for diagnostics. So this is where this will come into picture here. So for monitoring aspect, so Azure provides primarily three things. One is a security center. This is by default is enabled. So it says your subscription is protected by Azure Security Center Basic Plan. So which means the security center, once it will keep on monitoring my VM configuration, and based on it, it will recommend. For example, if I select any IP instead of or specific IP, if I select any IP, can connect to my VM. So the security center will recommend saying this is risky. Better you should not allow all IPs to connect to your VM. It's not security friendly. So it will scan your configuration always, and it will give recommendations to you. So always it is good to enable this. By default, is enabled with a basic plan, but if you want, you can change this to a premium plan also. But basic plan is enabled by default. And boot configuration is where this is where you get a while booting up all the logs, whatever is required. So they all will be enabled. Basically, the boot logs when a VM is booting up, all the boot logs they all will be stored. I mean, this will help you especially when your system is not booting up for some reason, or your VM is couldn't connect for some reason. So that is this boot diagnostics will help you. So you can access those using serial console output, which means if you can't connect to your Windows VM, then you can't access logs. Right? I mean that is factor. But by enabling this, you all the logs will be stored in a storage, so that way you can see from the storage the log stored in storage, you can diagnose what is the issue. So that is the difference. I mean, if it is the logs, if you even couldn't connect to VM, then you can't even see the logs which are there inside a C drive. So But this, if you enable this, it will copy all the logs, boot logs into this diagnostic location, the storage location. This is what I was talking about, the sham diag 557. This is the diagnostic storage. So, but I can say off, which means that it will not create, but it is an optional component. So similarly, here is OS gets logs, so that also you can copy it to the storage account. But maybe I will just for quick demo purposes, I will show you this. I'll keep this off. Right, and then identity. I mean, if you want this to be a managed identity with I mean, I will come to this when you look at the security aspect. But primarily to understand this, this is nothing but whenever you want your managed identity of this Azure resources, where you want to use Key Vault to store all the user ID and password that we're creating. For example, Azure user is the one with the Windows VM login account I created. So, but if you don't want to use that any of your code when you want to connect to this VM, for example, you can use manage identity as on. So so that way you will by default all the credentials will be stored in a key vault. So right, I will just put it off. And this is a very useful feature, auto shutdown, especially when you know that let's say you're not going to use this VM on a weekend, for example. You can do this, enable this auto shutdown feature. This comes with various time zones, but yeah, by default, let's say this what it says is if by every day 7 p.m. this will be automatically shut down. So you can enable such features, and also notification you want to give before sorry notification you want to give it before shutdown. Those are also you can enable it. Anyway, I'm just keeping it off. So and then backup. You want to enable backup for your VM. If you select yes, then you will need to give your backup details. What is the backup policy and other things, and what is the vault. So, so yeah, all those things. Uh, I'll just keep it off. So, okay, so that's about the basic stuff. And this is advanced is more about if you want to automate something with some custom data, where let's say you want to run some PowerShell script during server startup, or let's say you want to install some softwares using some scripts. So, so during the boot up itself, all the scripts that you provide here will be executed by default. So, this is something advanced feature. We will see it in the following section. And then let's create tags and yeah, review and create. So yeah, so here it is basically checking. It's doing a validation and validation pass. And now I can, it's also telling me that this costs 12 rupees per hour is my charges. And this is my configuration of my option. So now I'm clicking create. Before clicking create, I just want to show you this download template for automation. So this is where this will behind the scenes, all the inputs that you gave here, it is automatically converting this to a JSON file. Basically, if you look at all the inputs that you provided, uh, uh, yeah, for example, what is our network interfaces, and what is our networks, when Windows, what is the Windows, which Windows server that you selected, this all, and what OS this that you're looking for. So all the inputs that you gave the previous screens, this is automatically it creates a JSON file for you. Again, this will help you. Let's say you want to create with the same configuration 100 machines, right? So 100 VMs you want to create. So this you can save this template. This is called as ARM template, Azure Resource Manager. So you can save this template. For example, you can add this to library. And you can deploy it. So that way, and in this deployment process, you can tell how many instances you want. So it will create with the same configuration. It will create it. So basically, you don't need to do so many clicks here like this to create 100 VMs. You can do it once and save this as a template and reuse it. So that is the purpose of this. So that's what we
So even in AWS, cloud formation, they don't have this. It's kind of a reverse engineering, right? So they don't have this feature. So yeah, this is a cool feature.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just creating this VM. So behind the scenes, it is creating this VM. You can see the notifications where this activity is ongoing. So while this is it takes at least a couple of minutes, so 1 or 2 minutes for this VM to be created. But you can keep on monitoring what results are created and what is the configuration. Yeah, yeah, so you start creating. So you can see the progress here. So for example, it is creating the Windows VM, diagnostic logs, virtual network service group, IP. So whatever the architecture components that we saw in this diagram, all these things are getting created. So I mean, you create only one VM, but if you see there are 7 components, minimum 7, I think. So they will be created starting from disk to storage to network interface to VNet to subnet and IP. Yeah, these are the network security group. So these are things which are creating in the background. So and then you can see this scroll is going on here with the notification. As and when there is a notification complete, you'll get a pop-up like this. You can go to this resource. So this is where you can see here. Yeah, before going to the VM aspect, I just want to show you the resource group that we created. So Sham is what the name that we gave. So if you just see here, these are the various under this resource group. This is logical grouping that we just discussed, right? So under this, so these are the 7 components that it created for you. Whatever we saw in this architecture, it created a VM, virtual machine, storage account. This is this diagnostic, and this public IP, which is this network security group, which is this network interface, which is VNet, and then the disk. The disk. So we're not selected data disk, but in case we select data disk, that will also be created. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the VM now. So I mean, again, coming back to the delete. If you want to delete this, you don't need to go individually and delete it. Yeah, that is where the resource group is very handy. So you can just click the delete, and this will delete all these things for you. So if you just delete a resource group, all the components inside, all the Azure resources inside that resource group will be deleted by default. So yeah, let's move to the VM now. It is created. Okay, so if you see this VM, so it is so basically this is a resource group, Sham, and under that the location is this, what subscription it is, subscription ID, and then what is the size of the VM, the public IP, so the operating system, about operating system, and what is the network, and DNS name. You can configure a DNS name to this IP. By default, this is public IP. You can also configure a DNS name for this IP. Something it ends with something like Azure.com. So and yeah, if you look at here, these are the various properties of this virtual machine. And it says availability zone is not applicable. Extensions, custom extensions, advanced settings is not applicable. The networking aspects. This is look at this IPv6 is not there, but this is an IPv4. So it is a private IP and it's a public IP. And then what is your size, 8 GB, and these 2 GB CPU, disk, what is the disk. Then encryption is not enabled. Then it is not a spot instance, it is a normal instance, the on-demand instance. So that is what you see, and then activity log is where you see your whatever activities that you're doing. You can see the activity log. It is like a rolling log. You can all the activities that you're doing on this VM, it will be logged here. This will be useful for security aspect. What activities are happening on this VM.
Have a question. Can I ask you a question,
Sure.
please?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Murli here from Toronto. Now you created this VM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the session, to stop your billing, you destroy it after this session, right?
Yes.
So if I want to just store the script and I want to run next time without going through the YCWig interface, how do you do that? Like, I know that there is an ARM template or something, right? Can
Yeah.
you, so whatever you created, how to script this one? Is there any automatic scripting?
Yeah, that you need to copy this download the template that it created. You need to download it. You can uh, use that, and then deploy that. You need to give all these inputs. You just click deploy. I mean, you should save that in the library. So that way you can just click the deploy button. That's all. So it will create the same configuration VM. So that is one way. So and also generally the ARM templates will be stored in the real world. They will be stored in your Git repositories and used it will be used in your automation scripting. So
Okay.
generally the console way of doing it is not very common in the real world. I mean, you use
So now this
scripts.
whatever you created now,
Mhm.
can you script it? Can you show me the script, or how is
Yeah,
that?
I
How
just
do you?
okay. I just showed the script. I mean, it created a JSON file, right? I didn't save it.
Oh,
But
okay,
yeah,
okay,
but I can quickly show you that. So I will just
okay.
complete this
Sorry.
and then show you that, right?
Okay, okay.
So
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that is one way. Other way is, I mean, I will show you the other options also. The CLI is another option where you can use either PowerShell script or a Bash shell script also to create. I mean, you need to create all these things from portal. You can also use CLI scripts also. That is also another way. Or ARM template, which I showed some time back, which I will show it again. So ARM template is also one way. So these are it provides a lot of options. Even you can call REST APIs, for example. So Windows behind the scenes, everything is calling REST API. Okay. So for programmatically, if you want to create a VM, then your options are REST APIs are most popular options. So Azure provides a lot of options to you. Either you can, so as I showed in this PPT, right? So we have um, Azure portal way of doing it. The REST APIs, PowerShell, Azure CLI. I think I could also add this one, which is ARM template. So so yeah. So these are the Azure Resource Manager, ARM stands for. So Azure Resource Manager template. These are the options that you have. You can, yeah, whichever is convenient you can use. So these three are primarily, probably these four are probably the coding way of doing it. With the developers will use this. Sysadmins will most probably use these three options. Okay. So let's move to this. Yeah, let's quickly, before a lot of options are there here, we can go through that, but we'll just quickly see how to connect to this VM now. We create a Windows data center, Windows Server data center. So for creating, if you want to connect to this VM, so you have primarily RDP, Bastion are most commonly used because it's being Windows RDP or Bastion are the options. So let's use RDP now. Um, so it helps you to download the RDP. Just clicking it. So this is what I gave the user, user ID and password. Did I, so, oh, okay. It's taking to my
Not it is using domain Ericsson there.
yes, yes.
See that in the down.
Yeah, but I thought this will. I could connect to this. Let's quickly check this test connection.
We have the old joke, right? Whenever you have any problem with the Windows machine registry, yeah, Microsoft way, right?
Yeah.
But now, now that is changed though. Actually, with that image is really this one thing I want to make sure. Impression of the Windows has been changed after this Azure invent. They actually improve the product very close to the Linux world. They're taking to next level actually. So that's a great kudos for them because we all know how it was, right? So it
That is
it
thanks
evolved.
to Steve Ballmer who left.
Yeah.
He was the wall stopping all the open source, and he called this open source as a cancer.
Yeah. So actually,
Right?
yeah. Now it's a very
Nadella put Kshell into Windows 10. So don't
see
worry. Emerging.
smart guy, right?
Whatever works.
Yeah, man.
Actually.
Yeah. Now it's going to be a very good. That's what I'm saying. The innovation is going to happen very fast. They have to, otherwise they cannot sustain.
Shyam, I think you may have to use Sarvanapan password Masalvade 71.
Yeah. Why 71, man? And 101.
I don't know. What happened? Right.
That's fine, Cham. Yeah, just yeah. What you can do is connecting. We all see before, right? Just
Yes.
move on. Yeah, it will connect. So yeah. So move on and show the other components and
Yes.
so on.
Yeah.
We digest Windows. We know that. So it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. So.
So Amazon didn't have this problem. See.
See, that is the sales pitch we have. Okay.
Windows is more secured.
Guys,
Yeah.
I'm one of hardcore Microsoft guy from my whole career, so please don't abuse Microsoft. Okay.
Yeah, sure, man. We all live up to their expectation. Actually, I'm not joking, man. Microsoft has kept up now recently with Azure thing. But
All
before that, we all know us.
Nadala's main, after he took over from Steve Ballmer, he put in a lot of thrust on Azure and Office 365 and tried to open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Shyam, we
Yeah.
trust you. It was just the masala vada. So move on.
Yeah, it's not like everybody is looking at the technologically sound thing. What they are looking for is revenue stream. Wherever there is a good revenue stream, that's where they go.
Yeah, it's all
So
sales
it's a
pitch,
simple,
man. Yeah.
simple business, right? So who cares about whether you hold it by a pin or like a tape? Who cares, right?
Yeah. That's true. So I just quickly give something.
Naren, can you check
Yeah,
the
some fat
global connect is
fingering.
We'll just sort of the same thing.
You have to change your region to your local region, or
No, that is not required. You can create anywhere.
Hey, Shyam, I think it's a good time to stop your video. Okay, so yeah, just do that. That
Yeah,
way.
just the
Yeah. So let's have some interesting discussion. Like for example, I have worked with some of the hardcore Microsoft architects also from the .NET Advent and the whole thing. So as a company, they actually one thing I admire is the way they evolved from such a .NET shop with Windows to this level, embracing the open source. Nowadays, AWS is nothing but open source. Behind the scene, everything is open source. So and Red Hat is one of the success with the open source. So now these guys also embrace it. One of the reason for this innovation faster phase is that one because not just the corporates innovate, the people lives like you and me who has passion, they contribute back. That is triggering the fuel.
That is why they bought GitHub as Cine. Otherwise, Microsoft, yeah, Microsoft now owns GitHub. The
I
GitHub is
know.
open source only.
Correct. So,
Yeah, that is for
goodwill
getting.
prevails, man. They went for the hotmail also, right? So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Earlier, they bought companies actually, so they could bribe the top officials. Now they just said, okay, buy that code, all the code that is out there, right? Like, so they own it actually, basically.
Yeah.
So there was a big revolt. There is something called GitLab. So people from GitHub moved to GitLab actually. So I don't know where that is, but that's where.
Those labs are all gone, man. You know, AT&T lab, right? All the labs are all
No,
gone.
no. GitLab is a
I know, and
thriving
I'm
one.
just kidding. But I'm just saying the fuel is on you and me. Just in the office, just a chair and a laptop, we can innovate. That's it.
Yeah, I think there's a question on this templating, right? So this is I just give all the inputs, and this is how I can save this template. This is what I was showing. Someone is asking question here, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
me,
can download.
Murli.
You
Thank
Yeah,
can
you.
you can
download it.
download this,
Yeah, I can download it.
and you can
This
copy
is a
this.
cool feature, actually. Yeah.
This is the entire JSON file. You get it as the input, and you can also save this to a library also. If you want.
Okay. So next time when I log in or when I'm trying to access the script, like how do I run through the portal or through the command line
To command
interface
line,
or?
command line.
You can do anyway. Yeah, you can even use this
You
also.
can, you can,
ARM.
you can. There's a ARM option is also there. Using ARM option also, you can go there and click deploy. When I was showing you the deploy option there, add to library. So you can also go to this
Yeah.
library and then click deploy from there.
Okay. No, because this free account, every time when I log in and do something, I have to destroy it. So
Okay. I think I gave a wrong password probably. Disconnect.
Wow, masala vada work starts working now.
Yeah. Okay. So while it is creating this the winner, let's go to the other details here. Uh, so this is the networking options that we saw. So by default, it opens RDP. That's the reason we could RDP works on port 3389. So since it is allowed to as an inbound port rule, only then you could connect. Let's say if you are deleting this, for example, then you'll not be able to do RDP. So that is why yeah, you need what ports you want to connect. For example, if you're installing SQL Server, so you should SQL Server port has to be enabled here. Otherwise, even though if you install SQL Server, you're not able to access it from outside. So so this is all inbound. What is inbound to the virtual machine? Similarly, you have outbound also. So outbound is something like let's say you're installing some IAS server on this, or which is running on port 80. So you want to access that from your laptop. So then port 80 is an outbound that you need to enable. And for the reason I didn't enable that during the creation, but here you can come here and enable it, for example. Right. So yeah, let's quickly check that. So this is being a Windows server, right? So I can install. You can install IAS server on this. So let's quickly install IAS server on this machine. I'm just giving it all defaults. So yeah, while it is running, so if you see here, just to this hard disk, let's quickly check the hard disk here. So this, while it is installing, so this, if you look at this, C drive is what this OS drive is, and D drive is what is temporary storage that I showed in this presentation. So any data that is stored here, once you restart the VM, the data is gone. So keep that in mind. So C drive is a permanent one. But if you want to, if you think the C drive is full and it's not good practice to store anything in C drive, then you can add external data disks that we show in this presentation, right? You can add the data disks here. So this data disk will for added data disk, then that will come as an additional drives here. Okay. So since we're not selected any data disk, so nothing, no drives are there. But yeah, you'll get that. So this is basically, this C drive is the OS disk that we saw in the presentation. This is a temporary storage, and since we're not selected data disk, nothing is there. Right. Okay, so while it is downloading, I installed Windows IIS server. So C inet pub www root is where your images should be copied, is there. So since IIS server is installed on this, if I just type localhost, and which is by default port 80, so IIS server, so this IIS page has come. So it's like a web server that we installed on this machine. So so this being on public IP, so I can directly access this public IP and access this this IIS server from a local laptop. So I'm now back to my local laptop, and I just quickly copy this public IP of this VM. This will not allow because this will fail. I just want to show you it fails. Just because we have not enabled port 80. So it's for a reason. I just want to show you. I want to add uh, a port 80 as an outbound port, and then you can access it. But for now, it will not work. I mean, since we're not enabled port
So
80.
the IAA server is installed by default, or did you choose that option
No,
or something?
I installed it. So while it is running, so this background this installation happened just in the call. Basically,
Okay.
yeah, basically it's nothing. Yeah, you just need to by default server manager will be open. This will become Windows Server, right? The Windows
Oh,
Server
you
Manager.
opened. Okay, okay. You manually went to the VM.
Yeah.
Then
I
you.
installed.
Okay, got it.
It. Yeah.
Got it.
So yeah, I just add click roles and click next. It will create install IIS server manually on this machine. So that's why you see this IIS server here running, right? So because of which I could access this page. This is a default page for Windows IIS server. It's all coming from the default directory C inetpub www root. So if I change this here, something, yeah, you can see that reflected here. Basically, now what I'm trying to do is this page, which is the IIS server running on port 80. This will work in this Windows machine for sure because it's a local one. But I'm trying to access the same thing from my local laptop outside the VM. So see. So yeah, if you look at the site is not reached. So now if I will go here into the networking aspect and go to outbound rule, and I need to enable port 80. That's the reason it is not working. So I will enable this port 80
Is it
allow
outbound or inbound?
outbound. You're not accessing inside, right? So yeah, it can be any name. I can just giving a name here. I'm asking here. This is where the priority will help. The priority will decide. Everything will have a priority. So so port 80 is getting a security rule is getting added now. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm enabling. Uh, I'm adding a network rule to enable port 80 so that I can access it from outside. So once this is added, I should be able to. Yeah, this is there. Yeah, this is now added. Port 80 is added. Let me try the same thing now. Maybe I think Srini, you're right. Maybe it's inbound rule. I guess. Let me check that. Let's check. Just double check. It should be usually instantaneous. It should not take time, but so what's happening? Window, select this. This. Okay. But so I think it took some time to reflect. I think the column 80s doesn't matter. By default, browser works on 180.
That's the registries, man. Windows registry. We know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it will take some time to reflect. Yeah. So, but I really just was bit, does it work with port 80? If we just delete this one, just want to double check this. Yeah. Anyway, so this is where you can access your. Basically, what it is, the IA server running on this machine. I'm trying to access it for public internet from my local laptop. So yeah, this shows that this works. Yeah. Okay. So I think this works. I think just primarily the inbound route only. Yeah, which made this. Yeah. So okay. Just to be on safer side, let me also go to incognito window. Let me try this. So it's not cached. Yeah, it's working. So it's inbound. Inbound is what you need to add. You're right. So yeah, so this is one way to do this. So and here, if you look at in this, let's now look at the other options that you have in this VM. This one, yeah. Okay. So if we just come back to this VM, okay. So here, if you look at these are the various options that you have. Activity log is where you can see we already discussed about this whatever activity information. So they all will be logged here. And IAM is primarily for let's say it's like about the roles similar to IAM that we have in AWS as well. You can create a role-based assignments, and you can also assign roles and deny roles and all those things. You can do it. It's primarily uses Azure Active Directory behind the scenes. And tags is where this will help you to tag this VM, so that way it is easier for you to search at any given time. So you can give some, for example, you want to use it for your, you can name a project name, dev. So you can create a tag like this. So that way, if you are using a project name every time, so yeah, this VM, this tag name, if you give, all the resources will be brought on when you give this tag name every time. When you do a search, of course, you need to save it, that you can search it. And at some point, this will be a very useful feature. Tagging looks very simple, but it is a really very useful feature in your day-to-day life. Um, so resource group is one way where if you can directly go, if you know the resource group name, you can directly go there, and either you can go to VM or VNet or whatever you can go. That is one way to do. But let's say in your real life projects, you'll be creating a lot of resources, Azure resources. So in that case, quickly you want to search something, the stacks will help you. So that way it will reduce your time to load a particular resource. right? And then diagnose and solve problems. I mean, this is not enabled by default, but I think here you can all the common problems that you face. So so we can, it's like quick help or quick ready tips for you to resolve those issues. So how to connect VM, for example. So you can look at it will take you to the documentation page, and also it will give the resource help details, what is your VM health aspects and all. The problem, the commonly faced diagnostic problems, so it will give quick links to you, so you can check these in case if you have any issues in the VM connectivity or any other aspects, you can do it here. Um, Networking, we saw that. So there's inbound rules, outbound rules. Uh, this this here, apart from inbound rules and outbound rules, I mean, there is priority, which is very important. It's something that when you create a rule, so which port you want to enable, it comes with some priority. So this priority number is something defaultly generated. So uh, while sometimes there could be contradictory rules, like where you say you say allow, and another place you say deny, right? So in that case, when it comes, so it will primarily look at the priority. So yeah, when this priority will help you when there is a contradiction of the rules that you created here. So the lower priority will take higher precedence. That is how it is. And it's same concept in AWS also. So the lower priority rule will take a higher precedence compared to the higher version, right? And then this application security groups is similar. Let's say for an application you want to create a rule, so you can use this to create your own application security group, and you can associate that. It is similar. It is equivalent. In the AWS world, we have, I think we were talking about uh, uh, the security group is something where you can do it at application level and also or a VM level, and also at a subnet level, right? So that is what is this. Whatever you can do it at the application, which is a VM level, that is what is this. So basically in Azure world, they all clubbed under NSG, so network security group. But in that, if in that these two are primary for networking, and this is primary for a VM level or application level, and you can also add a load balancing level rules also. So if let's say this VM is attached to a load balancer, you can associate load balancer specific rules in terms of which port to be allowed and not. So those also you can associate here. And this connect option is we already saw. That disks, yeah. So this is what your disk size, premium SSD, and other things. Um, size of the VM by default, the configuration that you selected is by default selected. But if you want, you can change, you can resize it. So then this is the security recommendation is what the security center. So this is what it scans your VM configuration for security aspects, and give recommendations to you. At this point, there is no recommendations to show, but maybe after some time, if you're changing the configuration, if anything is not as per the security rule, it will give you recommendations here, and security alerts are also will be uh, uh, will be given. For example, recently I got a security alert for a sample VM that I created, saying that this VM is being I created in I mean, from India. I created it, but looks like someone tried to hack that VM from a different location, from US. So it gave me an alert saying that this is not as per. It immediately sent me a message saying that someone tried to hack this machine from a different location. Is that you? So it helped me to come and take some look at these rules, and we can also deep dive from which IP this hit has come, and all the region aspects and other things. You can narrow down this issue. So this is very handy security alerts which will help you. I just quickly enabled it, and within 1 hour I got an alert. So someone tried to hack your laptop. So, I mean, there's a VM. So yeah, so this ports plays a very important role. So that's why we should not enable all the ports. Because otherwise, without knowing, so the sports will be accessible outside, because it's all on public internet, right? So anyone can connect it. So it should be very secured. We should be double careful in enabling what ports you are opening it and closing it. Um, and there is advisor recommendations. So this one, it will give you the primarily the recommendations. So what should be good, and what is high, and what is medium, and what is low. So it will take some time. It will take at least 4 hours for this to work and give you recommendations. But it will suggest you what since I mean it depends on usage. I mean, based on your usage, it will tell you like your for your usage, it is maybe it is this configuration is high configuration. You can go for a lower configuration so that your cost can be minimized. So likewise, it will give recommendations to you so that you can reduce your billing aspect. It's not just the cost aspect; it also give recommendations to you on security aspects also. If the port is not accessed for quite some time, it will tell you this port is not accessed for quite some time. Do you want to close this port? So all those recommendations are will be provided here. I think, but it will take some time because it depends on your usage pattern. It will slowly read it and then give recommendations to you. Then this extensions is like you can add custom, let's say as part of your it's from the name itself, you can say it's extension where you can with the server boot up, you want to install some softwares which is from marketplace. So you can select them. For example, the most common one is the Puppet agent, which will be primarily used to install stuff using Puppet software. Um, and similarly, semantic antivirus, if you want to install it. So you can select this. So these are all extensions that you can install, which is will have recommendations. I mean, this will have products from Microsoft as well as from outside as well. I mean, other vendors. So like NVIDIA is one, and for example, these are all Microsoft's products, Microsoft Corporation products. So Network Watcher Group, PowerShell, Desired State. PowerShell Desired State is very popular product from Microsoft, where this will, especially if you're using PowerShell, which is one of the CLI. So this will help a lot in identifying or automating. So if you look for more as an admin, you want to automate many things. This is a handy tool which will help you. So during the server startup, let's say if you know already that I need these softwares to be installed, so then you can during the VM creation or later you can after the VM creation also you can come here and select this software, for example, and then say create. It will automatically create this on the VM for you. So that's what it's called, extensions. So like, and then this continuous delivery is more about Azure DevOps is a product where, I mean, this for DevOps requirements where you want to run CI/CD pipelines on this VM. So then you can configure a CI/CD pipeline on using Azure DevOps, which will help you to connect or install all the softwares required and build a pipeline on this VM. So it will deploy your application. Let's say if you have a Java application or Python application and you want to deploy that into this VM. So you can configure a Azure DevOps pipeline and tell where your Java code or Python code is available. So it will automatically uh, create a pipeline and compile your code and then deploy it onto this VM. So you will configure that here. And then scaling. So this is what I was telling about the placement strategy. So when you select availability set or availability zone, for the VM creation, we had two options. So especially when you're selecting availability set, yeah, it is the risk is uh, like bit more where the VMs, more than one VM, especially when you're talking about this is disabled because we have only one VM, so it is not applicable here. But if you're creating more than one VM, so this you can change the fault domain and update domain. So the difference between, especially when you selected availability set as your option. So if you're selecting availability set, I told that both the VMs will be in the same data center. Okay, but within a data center, you can reduce the risk by placing the VM in a different rack or a different power source. So the fault domain is the one which tells you whether the virtual machines, the same fault domain, share a common power source and physical network switch. So, if both VMs are in same fault domain, then the risk is more because if power is gone, that entire rack is gone, right? So the risk is high. So you can enable this fault domain such a way that when you create a second VM, the VM should be in a different rack, so that way your power source is different compared to the other VM's power source. So you just that way you are reducing the risk within a data center. Uh, but you want to go even further and create a VM in a different availability zone. So that way, if data center itself is gone, you are still safe because in another availability zone, your VM is still safe. So yeah, so it's all about the risk factors that you want to take. So that is this fault domain. It's again applicable for within a data center. Availability set is always within a data center. But within a data center, you have two options: either fault domain and update domain. Update domain is a feature where this will help you when all these Windows VMs or whatever VMs, Linux VMs, all this would require a patch upgrade, right? I mean, every day there will be a patch coming on this VM. So today's Windows 2019 I'm just giving an example, V20 version 20, and tomorrow there's a patch V21 that is coming out. It will always happen. So when you're selecting the update domain, what it means is that these patches will not happen uh, all on the same machines at the same time. So you can select update domain in such a way that VM1 can be in one update patch, and VM2 will be in a different update patch. So that way, both VMs will not be applied patch at the same time. When the risk is that when you're installing a latest patch, let's say if there is a Java application or Python application or some other application which is running on the machine, because of this patch upgrade, your software may not work for some reason. So to reduce the risk of this patch upgrade, it is always good to apply the patches on two VMs on a different time zones or different days or different patch times that Windows or Azure decides. So you have an option to say that don't apply patch to me on the two VMs at the same time. You can apply on VM1 on day one and VM2 on a day two. So you have an option to select that. So yeah, that will be provided by this update domain. Yeah, sorry, I took more time here, but this is important from exam point of view also to know. So this availability set.
There are some questions, right? They will say how many instances should be in the update domain and the fault domain for this configuration kind of a thing. We could discuss next week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. So this is very important from exam point of view also. So if you're taking the certification, for example. So yeah, this availability set lies within a data center, but availability zone is across data center. But within availability set, uh, same power source or the VMs are sharing same power source and same physical network switch that is decided by fault domain, and the update patches, how you want to have this update patches to be rolled out on the VMs. So that will be decided by this update domain. So just keep that in mind. We'll discuss this again sometime later. Right, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you're using a fault tolerant option, if one is the mirror image of the other one, why would one need to have different time settings for the patch? Because you are expecting one to mirror image of the other for the fault tolerance, right?
Yeah,
So
that is there, but
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so that is just during the VM creation, right? So that you can use the image during the VM creation, but when your VM is running for more than 6 months or longer time, so there will be always a patch that Windows will release, and always it's a security practices is always good to be install the latest patches always, right? So so then this patch. I mean, you have a copy, you have a replica, you have an image, but still, these patches are also equally important for you to manage. So so this is something. There's always a clash between a developer and a security manager here.
So Sham. So just a live example. I lost my laptop last week just because it updated the latest security thing. I just bought it 2 years or 1.5 years. Okay, lost means it's not booting now and so on. So Windows patch how it can work also. So that is why they gave all this proactive way so that if you make sure you cover your fails, you don't lose all your application. Your application will be working, and you can go and investigate.
Yeah,
I'm not joking. It's just happened. I just lost one laptop. Yeah, Windows update. It's very yeah, it's good, but it's not fully there yet.
Hey, Srini, don't buy any
Yeah.
more laptop. Use your Azure account.
There you go. See, now we are more
Why for a $500 for a laptop, you can use on demand on Azure. Probably you'll be paying penny. Who knows?
yeah,
good one.
that's true. Yeah.
But how to connect to that without the laptop?
Yeah, that's a good question. Chicken or egg? Yeah, we'll come out with a solution for that.
Okay, yeah, on your own device. Okay. And yeah, and by the way, Madhusudanan has had a chat. He has dropped a chat. He wanted to discuss a case study, probably. So probably once when Shyam is finished, I think we can ask Madhu to come in and then
Yeah,
explain.
is Madhu there now?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, so Shan, I think it's a good time to wind up now, right? So we could
Yeah.
continue. What we can do is next week today is a good one. So we could just try to show the other channels of creation, and also we'll talk more on this update domain, available domain, and expand around those things before we go into the app service and other things. Okay?
Yeah.
And the second session, I believe, is not recorded, I think, right? Or is it still continuing?
Yeah, I think forgot to stop it, so it is
No, it's all
continuing the same.
recording. So
Yeah,
I think
Oh,
it's
good.
recording, right,
it is
Sham?
recording.
Anyway,
It's
it is good.
recording.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good. Thanks.
yeah. And sorry, I
Okay,
will just
Madhu, go for your
if you don't mind, can I just complete this small options
yeah,
here? Yeah, logically we can
yeah,
close it here. So,
yeah.
sorry, Madhu, just give me a couple of minutes. I think we're
Yeah,
done.
good.
Yeah,
I want to come to a logical conclusion, then we'll go to the next one.
yeah. Okay. So then this is configuration. This is very important in your day-to-day life. I mean, this just-in-time access. I mean, this is very popular requirement. I mean, whenever as a developer, there is always a fight between a developer and a security expert within your organization. So every time you want to, as a developer, something is not working on the VM or your Java application or some other application which is failing there on that VM, and you want to check the logs, for example, or for some reason you want to connect to that VM. So it's always risky to enable. I mean, RDP will not be provided. I mean, I've just enabled RDP here, but RDP port will be disabled. It's a not good practice to enable RDP the real world scenario. So for that, what is the solution? So in that case, for developer who want to quickly check something and immediate, or not just developer, even a network admin or some admin who want to quickly connect to that VM, do some quick operations or check something for 10 minutes or 1 hour, and you want to come close that that port, RDP port. So, so for that, just-in-time access is a tool that that is provided by Microsoft, where you can enable just-in-time. RDP will be disabled, but yeah, developer, whenever a developer or network admin, someone wants to connect to this VM, he will click just-in-time and enable the just-in-time access. So, and you have to mention the time, how much time you want to use it. Maybe 1 hour is by default, but you can make it max 3 hours, not more than that. After 3 hours, the port will be closed. So basically, you don't have the hassle of going to port, opening it, closing it. So all these ports, this headache you can avoid. So that is what is just-in-time access, which is very popular real-time usability of this.
Yeah, Sham, one thing, like in Amazon or it's even real world scenarios, you have a VPN connection, right? You don't have that
No,
to connect.
VPN is here.
VPN is there.
VPN is from on-premise. That still hold good. But what here he is saying is in AWS. Remember we talked about the role rather than having permanent permission. You go for by the assume role thing. This is similar to the assume role, but they're given the option of through the better better interface here, so that you try to get it for 3 hours max duration kind of a thing. But VPN still hold good in both the scenarios.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought like Amazon had a similar thing, right? Like which is like
yeah.
opening the
Amazon also
port.
has this feature. Just-in-time access feature
Yeah.
is also there in Amazon. But yeah, I think what I want to highlight is that this, like I connected to this machine from RDP, right? So generally, this RDP port will not be enabled in real life. So if you go to the
Okay.
networking settings, this RDP port will be always should be disabled. It's a good practice to disable. That's what it says here. If you see, it's already giving an alert to you, saying that
Mhm.
this is enabled, risky. So it is telling you that RDP port is exposed to internet. It is not recommended. It is clearly telling you, right. So it's always good practice not to enable this RDP port. So this is risky. So that's why this will be always disabled in real life. But for temporary purposes, if you want to connect to RDP for some reason, then this has to be enabled. Like then, if you, let's assume this just-in-time access is not there, you have to go here manually click and enable this port, right? So, but quick solution is just-in-time access. So just by the name of just-in-time, you can just mention a time and then only for the time this RDP will be enabled, and you can quickly connect to that VM and then come out. So you don't need to open this and
So
close this.
which option you clicked for that to get that
Oh, here it is in the configuration. So inside
configuration? Okay.
configuration, and then
Yeah.
so here it is I have to enable it. I didn't enable it, but I need to enable it so
Okay.
that it will come here. So
Okay.
just in time
Sounds good. Yeah.
enables you to lock down inbound traffic to your VM by allowing access only for a limited time. So yeah, that is this feature. Yeah, so that is this. Of course, you have other options like licensing option. So this, if you have Azure, want to avail this Azure hybrid benefit, you can use that. If you already have existing licenses, you can bring that here. This host group and all is not required. So this identity aspect, I think these are your Active Directory stuff will come here. So you can, if you have um, your user ID and passwords and what are the Windows user ID and password. If you want to store it somewhere, then Azure Key Vault is a popular option to you. So you can store your credentials, identity details here. So that way, especially when you're doing programmatically connecting to VM, so which is very common requirement in a real life world. So you can programmatically connect, and for that you need to. I mean, again, as per security process, you should not store your VM passwords inside your code base, right? So that's where the security vault will. So it's basically storing your secrets here, so that you'll use a key in your code rather than the value. So that way it is secure. Um, then properties. Again, these are common stuff. What again, general information. Logs. Um, Locks is where you can enable a lock on a particular VM so that you can lock it or unlock it from remote desktop or close the remote desktop or unlock it. So all these features you can do it from here. Then export template. I think someone was asking question how to export this template, this configuration. This is where you can download it. This whatever we saw, and then you can also add to a library. So next time when you next time you want to say go to create a similar configuration, you can what is it? This template we saved. What is that? So yeah, so you can save this template, and next time you can directly go to your VM templates, and then can deploy directly from there. So you can go to template section, and directly you can go and deploy your VM here from here. You can do edit or you can deploy it. So the same configuration, let's say you want another machine to be created with a similar configuration, you need to go through all this mouse clicks. You can directly come here and do a deploy. It will automatically deploy it for you. So yeah, that is the advantage of this. Again, the behind the scenes, it is the JSON which I showed you. It's called ARM template, ARM template. So yeah, you can use that. So yeah, I think that's all I want to show. So then we can go to the use case
Yeah,
that we're talking
Madhu,
about.
go for it, man. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the scenario, right? And so long story short, I just want to find a comparison between the various databases which we have in AWS. So this is specific to AWS, right? So in AWS world, we have RDS, we have Aurora, Elastic Cache, DynamoDB, S3, and Athena, right? So those are the various combinations. So have we made any kind of distinction comparison between the various databases which is available within AWS and try to do a compare and contrast between the various databases, right? So that's part one of the question. Part two of the question, and it's something very similar. So there is something which is called as NPES data, right? It is the CMS NPI registry data which is available in the public internet, right? So I just want to get that data and then load it first into RDS and then eventually maybe into S3. So do you guys, any of you have that kind of hands-on experience where you can work with me so that we can load this data into first into RDS and then secondly into S3 as well?
So the
So
first
two-part question.
question is you want to compare with the AWS databases along with the Azure database. Is that what your question?
No, within AWS itself, right?
Within
Like you
itself.
have
Okay.
you have the various options, like they have RDS, right? And
Yeah.
then they also have Aurora, Elastic Cache,
So
DynamoDB.
yeah.
So some of them are RDBMS, some of them
Yeah.
are NoSQL data stores, right?
So anything, just to answer you, right? Anything in RDS is a grouping, relational data storage. So that means it has MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and it's also having Aurora is also similar blend of they started with on that origin, but it's their own implementation, more managed version of it. Those are all RDS is a relational database like Oracle. They also support
right,
Oracle also,
right.
right? So that is very clear. And DynamoDB is a NoSQL database, correct? DynamoDB is where you get the real throughput. For example, IoT data, those kind of, if it comes so fast, you don't worry about consistency really. Eventual consistency is good enough for you, but you don't want to miss any of those scalability of the transactional thing. Then I think best bet is you go with the DynamoDB. DynamoDB is what Amazon using for the transaction, so that it came from that thing. So that is the second option of it. And you said about the caching things, like um, see the caching is a layer on top of the database, right? So AWS supports two types of caching. One is I think
This,
what is that,
is it
Cham?
Memcache? Elastic
Yeah,
cache is, I mean, if you
Okay.
see my screen here, it
Yeah.
is already there here. I think, yeah, we just discussed, right? I think relation databases, the Aurora is their betting software equivalent to Cosmos DB here in this Azure world. So everything in one kind of a database. So that is what AWS promotes you there. So it's equal to Cosmos in the Azure world. But RDS is like it connects to multiple relational databases, starting from I think six databases is what it supports right now. So like MySQL to Postgres to MariaDB to SQL Server to Oracle. So all these things are supported here in one product. Because Redshift is primarily for data warehouse requirements, and key value pair kind of a requirements on NoSQL. Key value pair DynamoDB is a solution. And if it is in memory, then in memory has two options for you. Elastic Cache is the product as a global product, but it has two sub options, which is Redis and Memcache. But Redis is most popular use, and for simpler requirements, Memcache will help you. But for a complex requirement, I mean, this Redis is the most promising compared to the Memcache version. So yeah, so based on it, you can select the caching aspects. Then it comes
So
to document.
your question one is answered, right? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of, right? So the extending the same, so extending the same thing, right? So NPS is a CMS registry, and you can get NPI data out of that, right? So I just want to take that, unload the data.
What is NPA data? So, say it in layman term.
Okay, so NPI, so a doctor, think about a doctor, right? A doctor in India or a physician in US, every doctor or physician has identity number. It is called as NPI, right?
Okay.
It's called, I think it's called as National Provider Identifier, right?
Okay.
So CMS, which is the governing body for a lot of healthcare entities within healthcare rules within US, right? They publish something called as NPS, a registry of all of the physicians within the United States, right? So that is a publicly available data domain, right?
It's like a phone book.
It is like a phone book. Okay, think about it. It's like a phone book of physicians, right?
Doctors.
Or doctor, right? Now, that information, it is more in a tabular form, which is like RDBMS kind of format. It is a CSV file. It is a CSV file which is available in the CMS website, right? Now we want to, as part of a larger project, we want that data into AWS, right? So the thinking is, we, as of now, the kind of the maturity which we have within our organization is to take any data, put it in S3, and then put Athena front end and query through that, right?
Yeah.
But that seems to be an expensive solution. So I'm looking at
why expensive? Why expensive? Because S3 is cheap. S3 also has the intelligent routing option also. So basically, based on your usage, it can route to the different layers within the S3 to save you money. Athena is serverless. I think that seems to be a good option.
Yes, but I just want to look into the other options as well, right? I agree with you. That's a good option. But then, what does Redshift bring into the picture, right? What
Those
can
things.
any RDS
Yeah,
bring to
man,
the
I'm
picture?
telling you. See, those we are all from 25 years old before RDBMS, data warehouse, the heavy big bull stuff, right? Frankly speaking, for the newer things, it's all mostly CSV files on S3 with querying using serverless like Athena. It's the future kind of a thing. For a main reason, you don't have to maintain any of those things. See, you don't maintain S3 thing, right? And also you don't maintain the Athena thing, and you pay as you use model. To be
Srini,
honest, that's a good one.
Srini, that's okay, right? Your solution of S3 and Athena on top of it is okay. But what is Madhu looking for? Like, what is the other option that you have in mind? What is the
For anything you can put it in the RDBMS, right? So that is where I always go with to start with, right? Basically, we all came from the background, have fixed tables and convert the CSV into the tables, and you can query based on the table. That option is always there. but it involves developers, frankly speaking. The other option, what he has, he doesn't need to have a developer, frankly. Athena is.
Madhu, what is your thing? Let Madhu speak
See,
on
the
that.
thing is, okay, this is half of this half. I'm projecting only half of what the issue is, right? The other half is how we want to consume the data, right? The consumption of the data is going to be through APIs, right? And APIs, these are going to be singleton or so now I said what an NPI is. Now you load all of the data into a database, into a repository, right? And then that data needs to be consumed from a front end, which is going to be called through a REST API, right? From a REST API, we want to call the data, and which has been sitting on these repositories, right? So from so that's one piece of it, right? That is from a very reference data, if you will, right? It is kind of a reference data. But at the same time, we are also getting a lot of other claims summary data, which has been summarized at various level of granularity, right? So like at one side, I have a very summarized kind of data, which is again at an NPI level. So if that physician, going back to that physician, if that physician has prescribed, say, 1,000 claims, now that data has been summarized to that prescriber at a monthly level, right? And that is also there in a repository. Now this reference data is in a different grade. It's at a reference table level. Now I have the summarized table. Now both of this data in the traditional world 10, 15 years back, as you said, right? Like we will use some kind of BI tool and then we created a report and then we gave it. But in this case, right, like we have front-end UI, which is calling a REST API connecting to this data repository, and then it needs to give the data back to the consumer. That API needs to be rendered in milliseconds, right? It needs to be the data needs to be rendered in milliseconds, which means I want to evaluate: is this the right
Yeah.
RDB? Is this the right data repository? The S3 and Athena the right, or is there a different option as well?
You could, for example, you could use S3 and Athena to start with for the query, Haddock queries kind of a thing. But if you really want to, what is the volume we are talking here? Is this millions?
See the volume of the summary table, like say for example, right? The summary table, they could be in about 40 million, 50 million range, right?
Okay.
But the
Okay.
NPAs per se, they are at maybe 1 million. I think it's less than about 500,000 records, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
so that's the catch, right? So for
Okay.
if I want to slice the data based on a particular person, I want to look at the data of a particular doctor, and then the filter conditions which we send through the API could be the date. It could be the month, right? I say, okay, for this particular month, like from front end, then the person could pick up a particular month and a year, and for that particular month and year, now we need to go back to the summary table and get back the data, right? So
Okay.
the option, what we are thinking at this point in time is S3 and Athena, but we do not know whether we'll get that sub-second response from a
Yeah.
UI perspective.
So actually, your option is good to start with. Whatever the solution that actually scales well with what you said. But to support your REST APIs kind of a thing, S3 along with DynamoDB is always a very good combination. Okay, so is your structure well defined, or is your structure is kind of not well defined?
It is well defined. For this particular, we went through the normalization process, and the structure has been very well defined.
Okay, so in that in that case, if it is very well defined, and if you guys have RDBMS background, and if you get whoever is supporting this comfortable with that, Redshift also is a good idea. So S3 to start with S3, but moving things into the Redshift is nothing but the RDBMS kind of a support, but it can give you that terabyte level of scalability, and you get something called MPP, multiple processing while doing the execution of the SQL. So you get a much fast. You want to get it very fast, also, right? Your queries. That's one of your thing, right?
Massively. You mean massively parallel processing, right?
Yeah. So Redshift is good stuff when it comes to handling that. So you have a couple of options. Try with S3. usually the way it works is like S3 is meant for all those bitmaps and videos and all those really non-structured data, frankly,
Correct.
or
Yep.
non-structured data. And you put the metadata into the DynamoDB, corresponding metadata to the DynamoDB. So the DynamoDB will tell you, I have all the metadata, but I don't know exactly what it is, but I have reference to the S3. That is the pattern usually works very well. So in your case also, you could try that also.
Perfect. Okay.
So
Awesome.
Madhu,
Thank you. Appreciate
Madhu
it.
Raj here. I have a different point of view away from technology. If you have the process that you have already laid out clearly in place, I think that process should drive the tools that you want to use it. What I mean by that is, if you have an existing application that you need to leverage, you have this database, whatever the national registry, which I'm sure will be constantly updating. So you may have a process to pull the data, to upload your database constantly, because this is not going to be one time even, I guess. Now, if these kind of the processes are going to be laid out, and if your organization or whatever the project goal is going to be ongoing, sustaining project, then you may have to look into the investment that you are putting in building it. So technology is below that. So don't start with the tool. Now I cannot pick a hammer and try to use it where I should use that hammer. That doesn't work. If I have to drive the nail, then I choose the hammer. So if I'm sorry, if I don't make sense, but I'm just telling it from the managerial perspective of it. So if you have a process, if you have a existing tool sets which have to be used, then choose whichever which gives you the better sustaining option. Sustaining option, I mean the cost and the manageability. So among the 10 or 18 different tools which Amazon has to offer, and the choosing that particular piece should come after you have done all the things.
Yeah, just to add
Yeah,
one
it
more
makes
thing
sense.
is,
It
yeah,
makes sense, right? So that's what I'm bringing up over here, right? So we had we at let me put this way, right? We are a pizza making company, right? So we make pizza in a particular way, right? And now we have an additional order to make breadsticks as well, right? So it does not mean just I have perfected the way of making pizzas. I am going to use the same oven in which I am going to make pizza. I want to do the breadsticks also. So that does not make sense, right? Because we already have a process in place to make pizza. I'm not debating that at all. Now we have an additional, we are expanding. Now we want to make breadsticks. So we cannot say the same process which we use for making pizza is going to hold good for making breadsticks. And that's what I'm bringing, right? We have a solution right now. We are using S3 and we are using Athena. But is that the right thing to do for a different kind of requirement as well, right?
Okay, I
So
get it.
okay. So that's
yeah. So
that's what I'm bringing over here. That's a question which I'm asking. Okay, so Amazon definitely have a bunch of tool sets, bunch of databases, right? And there should be a best case when to use what, right? And I'm asking that question over here. So I'm giving my use case, and now so saying, okay, I have the solution. Is this use case is this a best use case for this particular solution? And I'm just
So in terms
bringing.
of cost, Srini, if I'm correct, the DynamoDB probably would be the cheapest. So because you basically get that's what Amazon is selling it for in terms of the cost. But any of the managed database should be more expensive in terms of the cost perspective. But technically, both of
so
them give the solution.
so bottom line is cloud. You should think serverless. So we don't need to manage anything, and there are solutions which are very good in serverless, like what Madhu gave, right? That use case, you could do serverless itself multiple ways. S3 Athena is one way. DynamoDB is another way. And DynamoDB also has a serverless option. There is another option called, I just forgot the thing. API gateway. That API gateway is the one which is going to be front-fronting for any REST API. So As long as you use the API gateway, you get everything of throttling and so on, and you pay peanuts for the millions of invocations. So that is so the reason I'm saying whenever we think about RDBMS and so on, that is how I groomed, right? Last 25 years, if you ask me anything, I put four tables, put it there, put a select statement on top, it works. So we are all comfortable with that. But if you think, if you have to challenge yourself, you can get the same thing out of serverless way. So you don't have to read anything.
Srini, what do you think about the cache solution? I know we are taking a little more time, but yeah, just keep it short. Like, yeah, what do you think instead of any of these, right? Elastic cache or something, put it in the cache, and you can write a REST API on top of that.
That is not a persistent solution, right? He needs to, so that has to live. I don't think cache is going to help you for getting your performance benefit. A cache cannot replace any of the storage solution. So he needs to have one good storage solution. That is why I said go for DynamoDB. DynamoDB with S3 is a very good killer option, man, for most cases.
Srini, we talked about Srini, it's Money here. So we talked about the databases and the other thing. So how viable is Glue? I think I heard that is also serverless.
No, Glue is a ETL tool. Glue is a ETL tool. If you want to do some transformation on the data on the fly, Glue is good. Yeah, but on this particular use case, I don't see any value on that.
I see.
Yeah, it is more about if you have transformation requirements, then it makes sense. But I think this is just your static data, right? So it's not going to change. So and there's no transformation logics also there. So then Glue will not fit there. Yeah, I think just summarized what we just discussed, right? I think S3 plus Athena with REST API or custom REST API using AWS SDK. When S3 also exposes the REST API, so if you just want if you store the data, static data in the S3, then you can use the S3 REST API, or you can, if you have any custom requirements you want to build on top, so you can write a custom REST API with AWS SDK as an option.
I think the requirement is they want to use some kind of a SQL while selecting it through the REST API, basically parameterize and so on. So there are options. Madhu, if you want a little bit more, we can even discuss later. But at least you got an idea in a high level.
Yep. I just need to go with a sense of direction.
Yeah,
right?
you
Once
guys are in good
direction is
shape.
there, then we can do a little bit more.
Every week we can talk about this use case and improve. Update us what is happening. Okay.
So because in an office scenario, right, if I bring this up, this brings up a lot of controversy, right? You know that, right? Okay, we already established a pattern. This is going to be the time it's going to get it
we
done.
Architects
right?
don't like those things, man. Come on. We don't
So
like.
we always need to think outside of the box. Is there a better way to do it, right?
It's a good way. And also people here, they learn a lot using a real use case. So that is a good thing too. That is why this user group is meant for, not just theory and everything, more practical. Yeah, it's good to bring this. Okay, anything else?
Next week's
yeah.
So the second piece of the question, right? Like I would definitely be doing some work on this week on getting that data loaded into AWS and RDS at least to begin with, or S3. So if I have any questions, I'll ping out to this team.
Reach out to me or so on. So we'll see. Yeah,
definitely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other points?
And thanks, Madhu, for that pizza and breadsticks problem. Only then I was able to understand better. It's almost 9:30.
I think you're hungry now, man. You're more hungry now, right?
It's lunchtime for us and past dinner time
for us. No problem. Thanks for that. It was a nice discussion listening to various types of solutions being discussed here. So I'm happy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shyam. Yeah, good session.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.